traders and friends, internet, YouTube fans, followers from all around the world. My name is Jeremy Alexander Newsom, and I'm with a good friend of mine who we've actually interviewed a few times before in the past, and we're bringing him back on the real life trading podcast series and interview style vlog so that we can discuss a very popular trending topic right now that many people are searching all over the internet. So if you were here trying to figure out what is an NFT and how can you benefit from it and what impact it's going to have in the market, we're going to be covering that in this interview. JL Mussi is an incredible digital artist, and he's also into stocks and active trading. We have a long relationship together, and if you check out the description box below, we actually have a few links that we'll post to some other videos that him and I have made in the past. So JL, welcome back, my dear friend.
Well, appreciate you having me on and bringing me in front of your beautiful audience.
Yeah, of course, man. Of course. We're just trying to be like you. It's just another day in the neighborhood, the JL Mussi world, you know? So really, really thrilled about this, man. If you can, just give everyone a quick background on yourself, a little bit about who you are and why you are an expert in this field.
So I basically broke down the interview. I'm going to talk about 58 minutes about myself, and then we'll cram the next 2 minutes about NFTs really quickly. So no, I'm going to give this. I'm going to give the Cliff Notes version of me. I've been a digital artist, or really an artist, for as long as I can remember. I started doing pretty much everything from custom shoes, as you actually might see right there in the background. 3D prints, which I also have there in the background, paintings, drawings, and then back when I was in college, I started doing more 3D modeling, 3D artwork, and I was able to establish a professional career doing those things. And pretty much all the meantime, I've always had side hustles from running a successful publishing company to selling 3D assets online. And kind of in this latest version or reincarnation of what I'm doing now, I've been focusing on YouTube, building a brand, content, and pretty much just sharing my experiences with the world about everything from creating art and also investment opportunities.
Love that, man. I love that. And that was already intriguing, mentioning that you sell 3D created assets online. I think that's really, really intriguing. And that's going to bring us to probably the first question, that the reason everyone's here. JL, for stupid people like myself, what is an NFT?
All right, so NFTs are a two-step question because once you actually give the meaning, everybody wants to know, well, what does that mean? So it's a non-fungible token. Fungible is something that could be equally exchanged. So, for example, if me and you both owe, let's say, Robert Falco $100, he's not going to care if I give him 250s or you give him 100, right? You usually use hundreds to light up cigars in the islands, but at the end of the day, they have pretty much the same value. Now, something like that piece right there, that 3D print originated from a file, right? This has been the pain, the vein, I guess, or just really the pain of digital artists, is that even though they are talented and a lot of them come from a traditional medium, it's really hard to establish scarcity in an item that's digital and can be easily duplicated. So where crypto comes in, this is kind of a byproduct of Ethereum, right? But this is where the NFT token comes in, and it's able to verify the ownership, almost like a digital certificate of authenticity, right? Now, the cool thing about that is that, I could sell you a digital file. And just by the way, those digital prints there are not mine, just to clarify. But let's just say I was the owner of, one of those pieces and I wanted to release that. I could create what's called a NFT token, right? And through the blockchain, through Ethereum's smart contracts, that could verify that you're the owner. Maybe you're an art collector. Maybe you like my piece. You find that image online and you want to flip that. Well, the cool thing is that I make not only money on the initial purchase, but also on the resale. And where it gets more interesting is that I can have multiple, almost like limited editions of this, right? And usually the more limited editions you have, it kind of brings down the the scarcity value, thus the initial price, if that makes sense.
So what's the downside of doing this? Because a lot of people are, well, striving to create digital art. We have someone in our community named Brandon Blevins who's already just making some masterpieces. We have Chris Rimbolt, we have Joseph Musso, yourself. How does someone either protect the downside, or what are the risks of NFTs? What are the downsides?
I'm currently not. I haven't made a drop yet at this point. I'm actually standing on the sidelines. Let me give you. There's kind of two sides to this. There's kind of the investor and all the money flooding in, and there's also kind of the artistic community. I'm kind of stuck in the middle because I'm an investor. I like making money, like most of us do, right? As far as an investor, but I'm also tied into this thing called the art world, right? And that's kind of my passion, right? And this is something that I spent all my life doing. Probably anything. I've been an artist doing art for as long as I can remember, and it's the thing that I have the most time in, right? So I'm obviously pretty passionate about this. But besides that, there is an environmental impact of NFTs, right? This is via the process called mining, right? To authenticate that ownership, that digital certificate of authenticity, if you will, it has to be mined, right? Those transactions have to be mined. Currently, the Ethereum, those smart contracts in the mining process run off a proof of work, right? And basically, proof of work is you have to run a lot of complicated math algorithms to verify that ownership. That does have ecological impact as far as all the energy being pulled. Now, this is where it gets kind of interesting too, because upon further research, China is the leading. That's where most of the mines are, right? So if you had somewhere where most of the mining came from renewable sources, it wouldn't be such of ecological impact on the world, if that makes sense. So China, their grid primarily runs on fossil fuels. It runs off, coal, which is pretty dirty. It does heat up the environment. So since the majority of the mining, the power is coming essentially from that, it does have some adverse ecological aspects to it, if that makes sense. I know it can get a little deep, but hopefully I kind of explained that fair enough. Now, the bright side to this is that there's other coins that run off a proof of stake, which is a lot less, intensive as far as the computation, right? And that's a lot better for the environment, if that makes sense. Also, Ethereum, they've been talking about this for a while, but moving from a proof of work to a proof of stake. And I'm not going to get into the whole nuances of that, but it just takes less computational power, and thus it affects the environment least. Now, obviously, from my standpoint, there's just as far as artists, there's a lot of debates, a lot of misinformation out there. But that is one of the downsides, in my opinion, right? Just to be fair. And then the other one I would say is kind of the purity. So you're a stock market investor, right? And I guess I'll kind of frame this in a way that you could kind of see. But, you've been an investor for all your life. 2020 has brought in a lot of investors and maybe a lot of YouTubers, right? A lot of YouTubers are making content, right? So you're a true practitioner of your craft, right? You study how to get in and out of trades. And, maybe I'm the new guy on the block and I see the money, right? Because basically now there's a lot of money in here and it attracts people that maybe don't care so much about the art, if that makes sense, right? Just like it's, the interest in stock market, maybe it's attracting a lot of people that are not true practitioners of technical analysis, right? Of day trading. So maybe I come in and I'm telling people to buy at all-time highs, right? And maybe they are making money, or maybe I'm telling people to get out of positions when it's right at support, right? So somebody like you that's passionate about your craft, that you put all your life into this, you might be like, well, that's BS, right? That's not how you do it, right? So somebody like me that spent, and there's a lot of artists like this that spend years perfecting their craft, right? And it could be a little bit disheartening seeing a JPEG that took 5 minutes selling for millions of dollars. That's not always the case, and there are reasons that I'm going to dive into a little later. But this could kind of be the same way with you. You might see a YouTuber blow up and see kind of misinformation. They didn't really put the time that you put in. They don't have the passion. They're in it for the quick buck. And as soon as NFT dies down, they're not going to be talking about this anymore, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, totally. So the positives then of this is that an artist can create work precisely or specifically on a website like Rarible, and they can put out physical art like 3D printing models or digital art, paintings, images, concepts, and they can sell pieces of that art ownership to other people.
So, the thing about NFTs, and I'm not, I didn't want to come off like, I guess, bashing it or whatnot. To me, it's the best thing that has happened to digital art. It does have some downsides to it. And, right now, I think a lot of people, there's a lot of money coming in. There's a lot of emotions. And I'm just somebody that likes to look at the bad, the good, the bad, and kind of make an informed decision. So that's why this is the angle that I'm presenting this information. And I'm currently just sitting on the sideline. But as far as the technology, it's amazing. And, I always knew that Ethereum, just the way it was built, would have kind of a practical application for this. But, to answer your question, it could be anything, right? So let me give you another example that maybe besides art, that maybe you could potentially get into, examine, or explore. But maybe you have like, maybe you're day trading. Maybe you start recording your day trades, right? Maybe you make $10,000, or that's chump change to you. So maybe you make 50 grand, right, on a day trade, and that's an achievement to you. Well, that could be a real life trading moment, right? You could actually sell that video clip of you, or maybe any trader, right? The excitement, that moment that image or that file, right? That video file could be minted as an NFT, and you could sell one, obviously for more. You could sell different editions, but that would be, what you could do as a business. So really, any business that is content rich with videos, with images, they could stand to monetize, and it could even be real estate, right? Me and you can buy, a property, right, in Nashville, and and maybe you want to get other investors. So that ownership can be tied in to NFT token. So it really does expand way beyond just art, right? It could actually be anything. There's actually a famous YouTuber called Logan Paul. This guy basically bought a bunch of Pokemon cards, and he dropped about I want to say 2 million on the cards because they're pretty rare. And essentially what he did is he live streamed him opening the cards and took that reaction, that excitement, and sold NFT. So he pretty much just recouped his money and made way over more, and still had access to the cards, but just selling those clips, which is pretty ingenious. So if you're a hustler, if you're smart, if you make content, it does give you a lot of, I guess, ways into monetize your content.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's really intriguing. And I think a lot of people are trying to figure out at this point, like, how do they buy NFTs?
So yeah, if you wanted to buy the artwork, you would just go on, there's multiple of these marketplaces. You would go on any of these, you would put in a bid. If you wanted to make money, right now, just kind of as investors, right? Because, I care about artists. I also care about investors like you do. You got to think about kind of the environment that we're on. We're in a very risk-on environment. Interest rates are low. Stimulus checks are flooding the market, right? So a lot of people have expendable income, right? And a lot of things, a lot of assets, a lot of digital assets have gone by. And now you have, for example, the Beeple NFT, which I'll talk about it. We can talk about it in a second. But, Beeple just came off the back of selling, one of his artworks for 69 million, right? And this is what CNBC, these are the headlines that you're seeing. So there's a lot of hype right now, right? And everybody, just like the housing market back in 2007, 2008, they think that I'm going to buy this NFT, tomorrow I'm going to be able to flip it. And, it might be very easy to see it that way because right now, you can go on most NFTs. You see the initial bid at, maybe $1,000. Some of these NFTs are selling for 10, 20, 40x what the initial bid was, right? So there's definitely after market for this, and a lot of people making money. But the last thing that you want to do is be stuck bag holding, if that makes sense, right? Because in my opinion, we're coming off, like I said, a non-risk environment. There's a lot of hype about this. There's pretty much people that sold this piece, these set of JPEGs for 69 million. So that's getting a lot of press. So, just be careful. Don't, I would say only invest money that you risk to lose. And, in my opinion, buy art from, legit artists, quality art, and art that you actually like, right? This is similar to people doing put sales. And you always preach, if you get stuck with the actual stock, make it a company that you actually like, right? Don't just do it to collect the premium, actually like that company for what it is. And that's kind of the most, valuable things. If you're a collector, like the piece and don't just have it based, or don't just buy it merely based on speculation.
Got it. So you mentioned Beeple. I haven't actually seen that headline. Can you tell me a little bit about what that's about?
Long story short is Beeple is a digital artist, does 3D art. He just does it a lot quicker than most people. He's very prolific. If you know anything about digital art, especially 3D art, it's something that it's a very knowledge intensive, very software intensive. It can take a long time to actually get good at this craft. And, Beeple has had an amazing output over the years. And his goal was to create a one piece of artwork posted on Instagram per day, right? Which is an incredible output for an artist. So he built the audience. He built artwork that people liked. He started selling his NFTs. And, at first he was getting a couple 100,000. Then, some started tapping the million. And then just like anybody that builds an audience that starts getting traction, a bigger entity reached out to him, like Christie's, right? The famous auction house, which primarily has dealt in the past with very high-end collectible art. They reached out to him. They created an NFT of one of his artworks, which is called The First 5,000 Days, which basically is a compilation, a bunch of images it's basically one image of a bunch of his artworks, right? So almost like a collage. And that sold for 69 million to a crypto whale, somebody that probably bought a bunch of Bitcoins early on that has money, bought it. And that's kind of what all the press is about the Beeple NFT. So,
yeah. Do we know if that was a singular buyer or was that multiple people?
Well, so his NFTs have been selling by multiple people, right? The 69 million, 5,000 days was from a crypto whale. I believe his name was Mado Coven, something like that. He goes by this, nickname. But so that one buy was basically a collage of his other artworks is sold for 69 million, and it puts him right up there with like the highest paid artist currently. So
that's amazing. That is really wild. Quite incredible. I mean, again, just such fast speed for them to adopt this, because these haven't been out that long. I mean, what's the history of these, JL?
They haven't. Like I said, I know the Beeple, recently this broke not too long ago. I want to say it was, it was very recent that he just sold this paint or this collection of JPEGs, this NFT for 69 million. But before he was starting to crank up, right? So this is something that, it's been happening for the last couple years. And like the $69 million sale was like the Elon Musk tweet, right? Like it just put, I guess, lighter fluid on the fire, right? And now it's everywhere. People, it's kind of like a lot of people are FOMOing over this, and there's a lot of traction going on with NFTs because of this, right? And there is a lot of speculation as well.
Sure, of course, and that's like anything else that a lot of people aren't familiar with, or it's new, or it's interesting, but there's obviously going to be a future with this. This is a way that many artists, both in music, video, physical art, digital art, this is a way that they can more or less source information quicker and get their name out there faster and have people invest into them directly. And I'm sure that within 10 years, you'll even have people tokenizing themselves as an NFT, so people can have ownership of themselves as an artist or as a concept, or maybe even as like a specific individual. So that'll be really, really intriguing to see regardless. But fascinating stuff, man.
It is. It truly is. This is definitely gonna just. I'm excited about the technology, and like I said, this is somewhat. It's a very heated debate between artists right now. Kind of on the environmental side, some are totally on board, but I'm totally bullish on the actual technology, and it's just a matter of time before either other coins that are proof of stake actually start getting traction, right? Because that's kind of really the main drawback, which I think over time it's a matter of time before it gets solved. There are current coins that are already proof of stake, so that's going to be that's going to help the environmental issue out. And even Ethereum, right? Once they move eventually to a proof of stake versus a proof of work, it'll definitely kind of help them out too. But I'm pumped, and like I said, this is going to bring scarcity to digital artworks. Digital artists for a long time, they've kind of missed the boat on the collectible, and traditional artists kind of took the pie because, if you created a work on canvas, that was the original, right? And through that physical asset, that was the rarity of it, right? And now this token can put rarity on a digital asset, right? And it does open up the door for a lot of people, not only artists, to that create content of one way or the other to actually monetize off that.
And I don't know if you know this answer, but how do the profits get tracked for tax purposes?
That's a good question. Because crypto is pretty anonymous, right? So I'm not a tax consultant, so I'm not sure, to be honest, about the taxes, the tax implications. I will say I currently did do my taxes in my. It seems like the IRS is getting hip to crypto because they asked, do you have any gains on crypto, which was the first time that a tax guy ever, I guess, kind of asked me that question, right? So I'm sure the IRS is hard at work to, get a piece of the good old crypto pie one way or the other.
Oh yeah, it's still interesting, but my brain's already whirling, man, with all the possibilities and ideas and concepts that this could create. How do you think this will impact some of the public companies in the stock market, and what would that look like in your opinion?
So, perfect example here. I'm going to pivot from a company that's non-publicly traded or a private entity, but you'll see the parallels of a very public company that could do this and probably make more money than this other entity. So, NBA Top Shot, right? NBA Top Shot is they've been around for a little bit, and now with NFTs, they almost have a system of collecting media, right? So, for example, they released a couple of editions of a LeBron dunk. LeBron James, I want to say it was in the playoffs, and they sold, it was a couple thousand editions for a couple hundred a pop. They made about $7 million off this NFT based off a 5-6 second clip of LeBron James dunking a basketball, right? Now, this is where it gets interesting, right? Not only did they make, those couple millions on that, but people, you can go down NBA Top Shot and you can see kind of the bid history, right? So all these, every single one on this website has been sold out, right? And you could see the bid history. So there's literally people, buying these collectible videos, right? And the way that NBA Top Shot works is like they have 3 tiers, right? So if you ever collected cards, the basically the more editions of that card there are, the less valuable that is, and it's kind of the similar with NFT. So if you're somebody that comes from the collector world, you should kind of understand that basis. They have 3 tiers. They have the rare tier, they have the common, and then they have legendary, right? So basically, like the legendary is the most exclusive, the least editions there are out there, and then the most valuable there are on the initial bid and also on the resale, right? And some of these kind of have the sometimes you buy these packs and you don't know what you're getting, and you kind of want to get everybody wants to get like the LeBron James rookie card, right? Everybody wants to get the LeBron dunk, or I don't know if they started doing like old school stuff like Jordan, but those things are just gonna obviously sell for a lot more, right? Than if like maybe the Carmelo Anthony's or just your, sorry Carmelo, but it is what it is, right? Just those more average players or superstars, they're not going to demand the same value. So it is pretty unique because you go when I'm a big basketball fan, right? And there are those moments when like Iverson crossed over Jordan, right? And then he shot that jump shot and made it, right? There's those iconic moments that can't or are hard to capture with a card that the NFTs and the video actually do very, very well. So keep in mind if NBA Top Shot is selling a video of LeBron James for a couple mil, and they're getting a cut out of every single resale, right? And they have hours and hours upon hours of content, right? Think about a company like WWE, right? Think about there you go, the 22-inch pythons. But think about like Hulk Hogan, body slamming Andre the Giant, right? And that was like when I was a kid, that was that moment changed my life, right? So imagine once those historic WrestleMania moments happen, like those NFTs and what they're going to go for. And currently, they haven't done so, but I suggest anybody, if WWE announces NFT plans, I'm actually thinking about buying some calls right now just in case they do. But if they do, I'd be very bullish on the stock because now they're able to take 30, 40. I want to say they've probably been around from like the 50s, 60s, 70s. But I mean, they have decades worth of content that they could easily follow the NBA's footsteps and convert it into valuable memorabilia. So that is a publicly traded company. And then, you might have a platform like Shopify that already has a marketplace, a user base. So they could start, minting NFTs and them actually being or offering that service. Really any company that's content rich or any company that offers a marketplace, right? Whether it's Amazon, whether it's Shopify, these are things that they could easily segue into.
That is so interesting, man. Wow. I appreciate bringing that up. Lottie mentions in the chat pane, I see purchasing content, movies, soundtracks, animations, visual effects, NFT style, and building a library of content for resale to other networks. Yeah, which should be wild. Brandon says Disney is opening April 30th. Then you have companies like Etsy, Pinterest. Man, wow, that is really, really intriguing. I mean, the one thing I'm trying to wrap my head around, this is probably the technical piece, JL, but what keeps the original creator of the art just duplicating it numerous times and just reselling the duplicates?
That's a good question, and I know you hit me with the body punch at some point during the interview. The hard question. So there is art theft going on. I mean, nothing really stops you from going on my website, downloading some of my artwork, and claiming it as your own. Right? There are I mentioned 3 marketplaces. There are thousands of marketplaces, right? Not everybody's going to do their due diligence. So this comes to a matter of reputation, right? If you go with Christie's, you know you're going to get the original Beeple, right? You know it's not. So it really comes down to doing your due diligence, buying from a credited or a legit marketplace, and make sure that that artist is actually the one that's partnered up with them, right? So as an investor, you do have to do your due diligence on that. And this isn't, right now this is something new, right? I mean, technically, I could partner up with Christie's or a huge clearinghouse, and then I could go on a second one, right? It doesn't really stop somebody from, if they have access to the files with so many marketplaces, so much information. This is kind of one of the loopholes about it, right? You can do your due diligence, but at the end of the day, it is somewhat speculative, right? Especially if you're buying from lesser known marketplaces, right? I'm pretty sure if you go to the NBA Top Shot, you're pretty much safe, right? So bigger entities that rely on, I guess, reliable networks like the Ethereum network, I think you're better off, because there are different tokens as well, like we mentioned earlier, and some of those are less secure as well, right? So that's kind of, I guess, my cliff notes on the dangers of getting ripped off or copying and submitting illegitimate copies of artwork.
Right, that makes sense. Ron says in the chat pane, you can have digital signatures and private public key signing. And then Lade mentioned, yes, digital signature stamp, date, time, all needed, same as a ledger system in crypto. And Lottie says, any lawyers out there, what a field day. They're going to have a blast. Oh,
well, it's funny you mentioned that, because I feel this is going to, personally, after watching the Logan Paul kind of making that much money off opening up cards, right? I think it's just a matter of time before people go to a Star Wars movie, right, to release. Maybe movie theaters at some point open up. Maybe they go to a ride and they ride the new Star Wars, the new, a Pandora ride, whatever it might be. Maybe they capture that moment, right? Maybe it's a big YouTuber, a big influencer. And this is something that I'm going to talk about at the end. But, what if those start getting a couple $1 million of sales, right? And the big behemoths like Disney start saying, well, you're kind of in our theme parks. You have our movie in the background. You're in my ride. You're getting millions and millions of dollars. I think this is going to bring on a copyright, somewhat of a apocalypse / nightmare. What is the essence of copyright? Is this an original work because, it's me in it, but your park or your IP is in the background? So I think this is going to get a little bit sketchy, and it could bring the hammer of dawn, if you will, down on a lot of creators if this gets really, really big, in my opinion.
Yeah, man. No, that's a really good point, because, I mean, number one, that's kind of been happening now in a way anyway, but you're not able to monetize it from like a normal person standpoint. And just to be clear, as we go through this discussion, people, investors, their thought process is, if I buy this percentage ownership of this content, I can then take that percentage ownership and sell it to someone else who cares in the future for more currency than what I purchased it for, right?
That is correct. Now, there's a lot of misinformation. A lot of people think that, NFTs are, Ethereum. It's not, right? So this is kind of one of the dangers, is that if you take an asset that theoretically started the bid at maybe $800, now it's 20 or 100x, right? There's no stop loss on NFTs, right? Ethereum, yeah, maybe you have a 50% correction. I mean, Bitcoin did it, right? It was at 19K, hit 4 threes, right? $3,000. You could have a stop loss at 17K, right? And this is why I tell investors, just, don't go all in, because all it takes is one of a crypto punks not selling, or Beeple having his next auction, and maybe he does 10 million, right? Instead of 69. But this might spook people, right? So it just takes one headline of a big artist that was selling before to trigger a lot of selling, right? And there is no, stop loss on NFT. So if you bought that, LeBron James dunk that started bidding at $800, now it's at 70 grand. There's no stop loss. You physically, or not physically, that's probably the wrong term, but you have to actually find a buyer that's interested in that piece, right? And that's willing to bid, right? So there's no broker kind of, in there with a stop loss. Well, if the LeBron dunk, goes under 50K, it's triggering, that sale. Doesn't happen, right? So this is something that investors that are used to dealing with stocks and crypto should know the risks and also the differences, if that makes sense.
Yeah, man, makes perfect sense because that's a very real aspect. I mean, it's in a way kind of like physical real estate because you can't really put a stop loss, and it's very hard to sell a house quickly. I mean, you have to get a cash buyer, and even then, it still takes days.
Maybe Redfin figures out a way of doing that. They automatically evict you and sell your.
It's coming. It's coming. Now, Lottie says in the chat pane, this could be a catalyst for a bigger system to use crypto day to day for regular folks spending. That, of course, is years out. The credit card took, about 20 years to get regulated to be, from the government. Yeah, I mean, when the credit cards came out in the 50s, people didn't even really actively use them until the 70s. So it'll be one of those things where the mass adoption will take some time, but it's interesting to be speaking about it now. And it's really fascinating to be thinking through all the things and all the benefits and the negatives that are going to occur with anything, because there's pros and cons with anything. But this was a very enlightening topic and discussion, JL. Thanks for bringing it up to our attention, man.
Before I leave the interview, I just want both, and right now there's a lot of hype, like anything. There's a lot of misinformation out there. And, if you're an investor, just do your due diligence, buy artwork from artists that you actually like and that you don't mind actually holding the NFT versus mere speculation. If you are speculating, invest what you're okay with losing, right? And if you're an artist, I'd say it's okay to, I'm not going to judge you whether you do NFT or not. There are a lot of people that, judge people one way or the other, but, build an audience, right? People like YouTube celebrities that also sell NFTs that make a lot of money, like Logan Paul, right? And he kind of released his own version and he made millions of dollars, not really based on the art, but based on the audience. And that's what I'm trying to, tell artists out there is that, focus on good art, focus on building an audience, because that audience, if you really look at Beeple, he built the audience. And then Logan Paul, he built the audience, right? And it's really that audience. People want to buy NFTs from people that they trust and that they care about, no matter what the content or the quality of the content, if that makes sense, right? So, if you are looking as an artist to get into NFTs, just put in the time to build an audience, because not everybody's going to sell for millions of dollars, right? There is a misconception with artists that they're going to create an NFT and it's going to be the next Beeple, right? Just because it's NFT. It doesn't work like that. You got to put in the work. You got to put in the time to build an audience. And then the marketplace is going to dictate whether your art is good enough or whether it should sell for X amount. But you need that original attraction from your audience, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course. Yep. No, I mean, I totally get that. Huge piece of it. But as an artist, you now have more opportunities to create and provide your content and your genius and your value to the world. And you also get to determine initially your value, right? You get to determine how much you're going to be selling it for, how many pieces you're selling. Are you selling one? Are you selling 100? Why, whom, for how much? And being able to build your tribe, be able to build the group of people that love you and care about you and want to support you and just love what you do. Very similar to you, man. I mean, you make content on a weekly basis. So JL, how can people get in contact with you if they are interested in the art that you're creating?
Very easy. You could just contact me at Instagram/JL Mussi right there. You've been kind of seeing my name at the bottom. So JL Mussi spelled out straight, Instagram, Facebook, and also YouTube. So YouTube/JL Mussi, Instagram/JL Mussi, and Facebook/JL Mussi. Also my website, jlmussi.com. Kind of helps that I have a unique name. So I was able to get all those nice and easily branded. And yeah, so that's how they can reach me. And I'm
Thanks.
pumped about this technology. I think this is a game changer for digital artists.
Yeah.
And it is the beauty about this is also the resale part of it is that digital artists, even if you undersell your original artwork, right? Sometimes artists are not the greatest at pricing their work. You're going to continue to eat almost like a royalty via that NFT token because you could allocate a percentage of basically of a resale value. So every time that sells, you're actually getting a cut out of that resale as well, which is amazing for people that grind and work hard to create digital art and assets.
Yeah, which is insane. I mean, it's so hard to price, but wow, that's going to be a lot of fun. Really good discussions are going to come from this, and I'm going to make it my mission in the next few weeks to buy some digital art and to be a part of this community and to just learn a little bit more about it so that I can also be in this. But this was an amazing discussion. If you got benefit from this, make sure you go to JL Mussi's YouTube channel and subscribe. He has more subscribers than I do because he's better looking than I am, but we all know that. But if you enjoyed this, type in the comment section below. Let us know what you think is going to happen to this industry. And if you are also an artist, let us know. And maybe someone will go to your website and get some information, some value there as well. So thank you so much, JL, for your time and your energy and your guidance today, my man. I really appreciate it. And as always, thank you so much for everything you do.
All right. Appreciate it, Jeremy. Always a pleasure chatting with you and just sharing my knowledge and expertise with your beautiful audience. So you guys have a good one.
Likewise, brother. Take care.